What's going on, everybody? Season 15 has been out for 1 week, and Broken Moon is that brand new map. I got a bunch of tips lined up ready for you so you can hit your desired rank, or at least hit diamond in season 15 for the first half of the split. Now, the second half of the split starts January 17th, so you have plenty of time to get your desired rank in the next 2 months. Sit back, relax, get down a pen and paper. There are a lot of good POIs and a lot of good tips. Let's get into it. We'll start off with the first tip that I got ready for you in no particular order, which is going to be looting. Looting is going to be a little bit interesting right now, only because these POIs are huge and there is loot everywhere. There's ground loot and a bunch of pills all over the place. Sometimes you get a replicator and there's just things everywhere. So sometimes having a good loot path or just a good route to take isn't very clear. Of course, that's going to come with time and playing the map some more. It eventually will come. But for now, take your time looting. Take an extra minute to just look around, check that extra corner, because you never know. Sometimes there might be an extra shield, or in the center of a certain POI or a building of that POI, there could be a shield or some type of gold weapon. I have seen gold 301s and devotions on the ground, so you very well could just run in and find it. Also, keep in mind that there's loot ticks out in the field that give you some delectable loot, so go hit those bad boys up. Once you get a good amount of loot that you're comfortable with, start looking around for that team, because if you landed a POI and you're splitting it 50-50, the team's probably going to be pressing up on you. Or if there's a team that landed somewhere far off, because there's a couple POIs with buildings that have enough loot just to get you by, a team could be coming in from that building or from that area, and they could try to either start a third party or wait for the third party or start a fight with you. So keep that in mind. Let's talk about the fun, cool, interesting POIs to drop at, and there's a bunch of them. I would say the areas to drop at that are pretty good are going to be Production Yard, The Divide, Atmo, Backup Atmo, Bionomics, and Eternal Gardens. Those are all really good POIs. Some of these POIs even have these donut looking structures, you know, the circular looking ones, that if you play on the inside of it, you can actually get a really good head glitch. Terraforma and Core are also really good POIs. However, they're pretty much kind of known now to be the hot zones. So if you really want to get an early game fight, I would land at those hot zones. Let's talk about the areas to completely avoid, and that would be Promenade. Completely avoid Promenade and South Promenade. That whole section, just completely avoid. You take one shot and everybody's coming, trust me. There's also a few lines that go literally directly to Promenade from almost the edge of the map. It literally just breeds third parties, so just avoid the area. For those of you that like to play a little bit more passive and may not want to take 50-50s all drop and just want to be solo at a nice POI and be able to loot with some comfort, what you should be doing is that when the dropship is going down the center of the map or going down the map, you should be looking behind you. What you're doing by looking behind you is you're going to be watching everybody that's dispersing and jumping out. And you should be paying attention to what POIs they're going to. For two reasons you should be doing this: is so you know who's around you, and so you can claim a POI that may not be taken. Who knows, maybe you're going over Terraformer and everybody in the map decided not to land there. So you know what, that's a free POI for you. Go ahead, land there. You may be a little late to it, but at least it's free, and there's free of any 50-50. Or what you could do is you could look a little bit ahead and try to jump a little bit earlier to try to keep other people away from you. Some people might see you guys going there and they might be like, hey, you know what, let's not take an early game fight. It could be a free POI for you. All right, so my next tip is gonna be a fighting related tip. Back to what I just mentioned at like Eternal Gardens and Cultivation, those areas have those circular donuts, remember that? Yeah, so going back to that, use those head glitches again. There's plenty of those throughout the map, and also a lot of the buildings at Atmo and Backup Atmo have those kind of like weird triangular shaped buildings. Those also provide really good head glitches. Also, another thing that you need to know about Broken Moon is that this map has a lot of small angles that you can get on somebody because they're just rocks, or there's small like hills that provide their own head glitches naturally. There's also these really random tall rocks that characters like Horizon, Pathy, and Valk can easily just get on top of and provide excellent cover for you or your teammates, or get a crazy advantage against your enemy. So make sure you use all these head glitches to your advantage. Once you get that first knock, you want to end that fight very quickly, and you already know why you want to end that fight quickly, because you know that third party's coming. And we'll talk about that for my next tip, which is third party. You definitely want to clean up fights quickly and anticipate that they're coming, mainly because even though this map is massive and it's probably bigger than Stormpoint, these line systems that are all over the map help you traverse the map so quickly that even though somebody could be far, and you know what, it could be a safe fight at first, if they have a line to get there directly, they get there, and they get there a lot quicker than they would if they were just running, or even with a Valk ult. But once you get that knock, make sure you clean these fights up quick, or make the decision and say, you know what, we should just disengage. There ain't nothing wrong with disengaging, because you know somebody else is coming. Because remember, you're always going to get your points late game than you are mid game or early game. You always need the late game placement points. That's what really gives you all the points that you're going to need to get all the way to diamond. Now, these lines unfortunately do not make a lot of noise, just like everything else in Apex. However, they do have a very distinctive sound and is very different from zipline. Use these lines to your advantage. Use them to rotate and to join in on another third party waiting to happen. The lines are very good for escaping and putting space in between you and the team that's chasing you. Also, to be very careful on them, because guess what? I've already taken them at least once or twice and ran into another team on the other side. Not fun. All right, for my next tip, the guys who like to play very passive in ranked are gonna love this one. So one thing that I've noticed while climbing into diamond is that, you know what, some of these teams and the lobby just doesn't last very long. There's been a few games where it's literally like they end the first zone and there's 7 teams, 6 teams, 8 teams, 9 teams. The least I've seen was 6 teams left at the end of first zone. That's almost like playing a pub on World's Edge. You can very easily just get top 10 by just playing very far edge zone or just worrying strictly about positioning. You don't always have to fight at the beginning of this map. It's literally just the lobby is going to die out on the most part for it on its own. At the end of the day, they are free points. Make sure you go get them and secure that win for even more points. Before I get to continue with the rest of these tips, if you like this video, please do not forget to like and subscribe. I highly appreciate it. I go live very often on this channel, so you can definitely come into chat. We can ask questions. You can watch Diamond Plus level gameplay. I'm definitely gonna hit Masters this season. Don't be afraid. Come in the chat and say what's up. Let's give you a couple tips about legend selection. So on this map, legend selection, huge legends are the ones that are gonna be very, very important, is 100% going to be Horizon. Horizon being able to queue a whole team up onto a certain building or onto a certain rocks, onto a certain advantage is going to be huge. And playing without her can be a little bit detrimental. This is the map to learn how to play Horizon if you haven't already. Not that you can't win without Horizon, it's just she plays a very, very big role on this map. Valk is still very useful, but you do have to keep in mind, depending on where you're taking off, you may not be able to clear a mountain or a structure. All right, so let's get into the other useful tips that every ranked player should know. So one is definitely not to get caught out solo. You go down, the next thing you know, it's a 2v3 situation. You're not doing a very good thing to your teammates by going down early. So don't get caught out solo. Don't fight in top 10. At this point, you should be worrying about positioning. If you get a knock, you should be sending the team and definitely putting a lot of pressure on that enemy team. Always worry about positioning. Positioning is going to be more important than getting as much kills as you can, or in a fight, positioning is going to help you get that win in that fight. And probably one of the more important minor tips is that you don't want to throw your game for 1 KP, right? So don't go chasing down kills, because you could put yourself way out of position, or you could potentially put yourself into another 3 stack that could very well just take you out, and meanwhile you're chasing one person. Or if you do happen to get the kill, guess what? The other team rotated and now you're pinched, and guess what? Now you just lost the game for 1 extra point, and you lost out on all that placement points and potentially the win. So worry about positioning and placement. You'll get more points that way than getting every single kill on the map. Okay. All right. So my last tip, and this is going to be actually pretty important for this map, only because of the way the zones have been ending the past couple days. I don't know if they're going to fix this anytime soon, and it might just stay around for the whole season. Who knows? When you get towards the end of the game and it's like the 4th, 5th circle, keep in mind that the end of the game could very well end in the middle of a mountain, which means that if you're on the wrong side of that mountain, you're losing to the zone. You're not even fighting at this point. You're pretty much just stuck. You're trapped. If you don't have a Valk to clear the mountain, and you're kind of just stuck there if you don't have enough heaters to get around the mountain. But there's been plenty of end games where it just ends in the middle of a mountain, and the team on the bigger side is typically the team that wins. So once you get to that part, usually you can kind of see it coming. If you get down to like the 4th zone and you could tell that there's a big ass mountain in the way, you should probably get to the bigger side. And if you don't, well, hopefully you at least got 2nd place. All right, guys, so those are all the tips that I have for Broken Moon that I've learned while playing for this past week. It's a very, very good map. It's a fun map. The third party is a bit extra for how big it is, but you know what? It's still a very, very good and fun map. If you haven't already, like I said, please like and subscribe. I highly appreciate it, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. I'll see you in the next one.